This is your need to know. This is your need to know.
All right, let's kick off this deep dive. We're tackling Native American prehistory today. And wow, these sources are something else. We've got academic texts, we've got encyclopedia entries, even some scientific papers. A real grab bag of information.
It's a pretty rich mix. A lot to unpack.
Must say, right off the bat, I was floored to learn about evidence pushing back human presence in North America to the last ice age. We're talking 23,000 years ago.
Yeah, that Clovis first theory, the one that put humans in the Americas around 13,000 years ago, well, it's been challenged by some pretty incredible discoveries lately.
Like those human footprints they found at White Sands National Park.
Exactly. It's pushing that timeline way back.
23,000 years. It boggles the mind. And it makes you wonder, how did they even get here? For a while, the Bering Strait land bridge seemed like the obvious answer.
Yeah, the classic land bridge theory. But now there's this kelp highway hypothesis gaining traction, too. The idea that people might have migrated down the Pacific coast, by boat.
So two very different possibilities, both with their own sets of evidence. What a debate.
It's fascinating. And what's really interesting is that there are archaeological sites like Traquair Island off the coast of British Columbia that seem to match up with some First Nation oral histories. It's possible Traquair Island is one of the oldest settlements in North America, and that connection to traditional knowledge, it's really powerful.
Really highlights how valuable it is to combine different types of knowledge, right? Scientific evidence and those stories passed down through generations.
For sure. And speaking of stories, the sources paint this amazing picture of the environment those early Americans encountered. Vast grasslands stretching across the continent, teeming with all sorts of megafauna. We're talking woolly mammoths, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats.
Wait, hold up. Giant sloths in North America.
You got it. Scientists call this ecosystem the mammoth steppe. And it was probably more productive than even the African savanna is today.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
Talk about a lost world.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate how much the continent has changed over time.
It has. And those megafauna, they weren't just these amazing creatures. They played a huge role in nutrient distribution. When they went extinct, well, it had ripple effects across the whole ecosystem, effects that we might still be seeing today.
That's a sobering thought. It makes me wonder, what if those megafaunas were still around today?
Right. How different would the landscape be?
So we've got these early Americans navigating this incredible landscape. But of course, humans are incredibly adaptable, and they started finding new ways to thrive. Enter agriculture.
Exactly. And when we look at the American Southwest, it's a prime example of human ingenuity and adaptation. The dominant crop there ended up being maize, but here's the thing. Maize wasn't originally from that region. It was brought up from Mesoamerica.
So they're bringing this whole new crop and figuring out how to make it work in this, pretty challenging environment. I'm guessing that required some serious innovation.
Absolutely. The sources talk about all sorts of techniques. They developed irrigation canals to get water to the fields, terraces to create farmland on hillsides. They even used rock mulches to help the soil retain moisture.
It's like they were the original permaculture experts.
You could say that. And it wasn't just maize they were growing.
Right. What else?
They had beans, squash, and even those early tiny types of popcorn. One detail I found fascinating was about the Hohokam people in what's now Arizona. They were really reliant on agave, a plant that can thrive even in those super dry conditions. We weren't just farming randomly. They were carefully choosing crops that could actually flourish in that specific environment.
That's amazing. Talk about working with nature, not against it. It makes you wonder what other ingenious techniques or knowledge from that time might have gotten lost over the centuries.
It's a question worth asking. There's still a lot we don't know. Every discovery brings us a little closer to understanding the complexity and ingenuity of those early American cultures.
And then, just as things are getting rolling, along come the Europeans.
Yeah, that's a turning point for sure. The arrival of Europeans had this massive and often devastating impact on Native American populations.
The sources don't shy away from that, especially when you look at the impact of diseases like smallpox, measles, and cholera. There's a statistic in one of the papers, 90 to 95% of the native population gone within 150 years of contact.
It's hard to even fathom those numbers, and while there were some attempts made at protecting indigenous people, like those laws of Burgos back in the early 1500s, they were pretty much ineffective.
A grim chapter, no doubt. It's hard to grasp the scale of that loss. It's still felt today in the ongoing struggles for justice and the preservation of Native American cultures. But before we get into all that, let's circle back to something we touched on at the very beginning. The question of who those first Americans were, and how they got here.
Right, back to those footprints.
Exactly, those 23,000-year-old footprints. It really opens up the possibility of some alternative theories about how the Americas were populated.
It does. And one of the most controversial theories is the Solutrean hypothesis. This one suggests that the first Americans might have actually been European.
Wait, European? I thought we were talking about migration from Asia across the Bering Strait.
The Solutrean hypothesis proposes that people from Europe crossed the Atlantic during the last ice age, somewhere between 22,000 and 17,000 years ago. They would have traveled along the edge of that massive ice sheet, using it like a highway.
That sounds incredibly dangerous. And the sources mention that most academics don't really buy into this theory, right?
You're right. There are some pretty big holes in it. For one, there's no real evidence that the Solutreans had the seafaring technology to make that kind of journey. Plus, there's this huge gap in time between the Solutrean and Clovis cultures.
So more of a what if than a widely accepted theory then.
Pretty much. But hey, even if it's a long shot, it reminds us that there's a ton we still don't know about the past.
Yeah.
And it forces us to question our assumptions, to look at the evidence from different angles.
It's amazing how new discoveries keep shaking up what we thought we knew about history. It's like this giant puzzle, and we're still putting the pieces together.
And sometimes the most surprising pieces turn out to be the most important ones.
So where do we go from here? Ancient footprints, a lost world of megafauna, the beginnings of agriculture. What does all this tell us about pre-Columbian America?
I think one of the key takeaways is the incredible resilience and adaptability of those early Americans. They faced dramatic environmental shifts, developed complex societies, and left behind a legacy that still resonates today.
And those are the stories we're going to delve into next. We're moving on to the rise of those incredible civilizations you mentioned, from the Hopewell culture in the eastern woodlands to those iconic empires of Mesoamerica.
Get ready for pyramids, city-states, and a whole lot of cultural brilliance. It's going to be an epic journey.
So stay tuned, because we're diving deeper into Native American history. We'll be uncovering the cultural achievements of some of the most fascinating civilizations the world has ever known.
This is what you need to know. This is what you need to know.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Native American history. Last time, we were talking about those first Americans, that incredible mammoth steppe, and early agriculture in the Southwest. But now we're jumping ahead to explore the rise of some really remarkable civilizations.
Right.
Pyramids, cities, intricate social structures. I mean, it's mind-blowing what these cultures accomplished.
It is. And what's so fascinating is we're not just talking about one big Native American culture. The sources really emphasize the diversity of all these civilizations that thrived in the Americas before European contact, each one with its own unique innovations and ways of life.
Okay, so let's unpack some of these cultures. The sources mention the Hopewell culture, flourishing in the eastern woodlands of North America, roughly between 200 BCE and 500 CE. What made them stand out?
One of the things that really sets the Hopewell apart is this extensive trade network they had. Imagine materials like obsidian, that volcanic glass traveling all the way from Yellowstone to the Ohio River Valley.
Wow, that's a long way.
It is. Or copper from the Great Lakes region ending up in Hopewell sites hundreds of miles away. They even had marine shells from the Gulf Coast.
So we're not just talking about isolated villages here. This was a vast, interconnected world.
Exactly. And the Hopewell weren't just trading goods. They were exchanging ideas and beliefs, artistic styles. This whole web of connections really helped spread knowledge and innovation. And you see it reflected in their incredible earthworks, these massive mounds and geometric shapes they built.
I'm picturing something like Stonehenge, but made of earth. What was the purpose of these earthworks?
Honestly, there's still a lot of debate about that. Some researchers think they had ceremonial purposes, maybe for rituals or burials. Others suggest they might have been aligned with the stars, astronomical significance.
It's amazing how these structures even though they're thousands of years old, can still hold so much mystery.
It really is. And I think that sense of mystery is part of what makes studying ancient cultures so captivating. It reminds us that we're always uncovering new pieces of the puzzle, constantly revising how we understand the past.
Okay, so moving south a bit and forward in time, we encounter the Mississippian culture. They seem to have been even more complex than the Hopewell, with large urban centers and a stricter social hierarchy.
Yeah, the Mississippian culture really took off in the Mississippi River Valley and its tributaries from around 800 CE to 1600 CE. And they did take things to another level when it came to social complexity. One of their most distinctive features is this monumental architecture, huge platform mounds with temples and residences for the elite built on top.
The sources mention Cahokia, which was near present-day St. Louis. They say it was the largest pre-Columbian city north of Mexico. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. A city that might have rivaled London in size right here in North America before Europeans even arrived.
It is mind-boggling. Cahokia was this bustling city with a complex social structure, specialized labor, a vibrant religious life, and the influence of the Mississippian culture, it spread far and wide. Their artistic styles, their beliefs, even their political structures, you can see echoes of them in cultures across the Southeast and Midwest.
So it's like Cahokia was this cultural hub with its influence radiating outwards, really emphasizes how interconnected all these Native American cultures were.
Absolutely. And that leads us to Mesoamerica, a region where civilizations rose to incredible heights, rivaling ancient Egypt and Rome.
This is where things get really exciting. We're talking Olmec, Maya, Aztec, cultures that developed writing systems, complex calendars, just incredibly sophisticated art and architecture.
What's remarkable about Mesoamerican civilizations is that they achieved all of this independently, separate from developments in the Old World. They weren't influenced by what was happening in Europe or Asia or Africa, and yet they made incredible advancements in engineering, astronomy, mathematics.
Let's start with the Olmec, often considered the mother culture of Mesoamerica, laying the groundwork for everything that came after. What were some of their defining traits?
The Olmec flourished in the Gulf Coast lowlands of Mexico from around 1600 BCE to 400 BCE. And when you think Olmec, you got to think about those colossal stone heads.
Oh yeah, those giant enigmatic faces carved out of solid basalt. I remember seeing pictures in history books, but it's hard to really grasp the sheer scale of them.
They are truly awe-inspiring, each one carved from a single block of stone, some weighing as much as 50 tons. And we still don't fully understand how they moved those massive stones over such long distances.
Right. It makes you wonder what their social organization was like, the level of engineering skill they must have had.
It speaks to a level of sophistication that we're only beginning to grasp. And they weren't just master sculptors. The Olmec also developed a system of hieroglyphic writing, created a calendar based on the stars, even had a concept of zero.
A concept of zero. That's incredible. Speaks volumes about their mathematical thinking.
They were pioneers in many ways, and their innovations really laid the groundwork for those later Mesoamerican cultures, like the Maya and the Aztecs.
Okay, speaking of the Maya, they really seem to take things to a whole new level. The sources describe their cities as these architectural masterpieces with towering pyramids, intricate palaces, even ball courts for their ritual games.
The Maya civilization was remarkable, that's for sure. They flourished in the Yucatan Peninsula and parts of Central America from about 250 CE to 900 CE. Their cities, like Tikal and Palenque, they were designed with this deep understanding of astronomy and mathematics. They aligned their structures with celestial events, creating this sense of harmony between the earthly and the cosmic.
And their calendar system, I've always been fascinated by that. It was incredibly precise, right?
The Maya calendar is one of the most accurate ever created. It's based on complex mathematical calculations and this profound understanding of celestial cycles. They could predict astronomical events centuries in advance. They also had a sophisticated writing system that scholars are still working to decipher. It's like the secret code of knowledge waiting for us to unlock its secrets.
Really makes you think about the intellectual achievements of these cultures,
Yeah.
especially considering they developed completely separately from the civilizations of the Old World.
Challenges our assumptions about the trajectory of human history, doesn't it? And speaking of challenging assumptions, let's talk about the Aztecs, the last of the great Mesoamerican empires.
Yeah, the Aztecs. I remember learning about them in history class. Always struck me as such a formidable force, these fierce warriors who built this powerful empire. But the sources also highlight their sophisticated city planning, their intricate social structure, and this incredibly rich artistic tradition.
The Aztec Empire, they came to prominence in the 15th century CE, and their capital city, Tenochtitlan, was something to behold.
I've seen the illustrations. A city built on an island in the middle of a lake with canals for streets, bustling marketplaces, these towering temples. It's almost like something out of a fantasy novel.
It must have been incredible. The Aztecs, they were skilled engineers, masterful architects, and astute politicians. They ruled over a huge empire from the Gulf Coast to the Pacific Ocean, and their religion, while complex and sometimes brutal, played a huge role in their society.
Speaking of their religion, it's tough to talk about the Aztecs without talking about human sacrifice. It was a part of their cosmology, their way of understanding the universe, but it's hard for us to really wrap our heads around it today.
It is a difficult topic, and I think it's important to approach it with sensitivity and a willingness to understand the cultural context. Human sacrifice wasn't unique to the Aztecs. It was practiced in various forms by many cultures throughout history. It often stemmed from this belief that the gods required offerings, to maintain balance in the universe.
A reminder that even the most advanced civilizations, by our standards, held beliefs and practices that we might find abhorrent today.
It can be challenging to reconcile those realities of the past with our modern values, but it's important to at least try to understand them within their own cultural context.
Okay, so we've got these three incredible civilizations, the Olmec, the Maya, and the Aztecs, each leaving an undeniable mark on Mesoamerica. But none of them lasted forever. What led to their decline?
Well, the causes of their decline are complicated, and they vary. Sometimes it was environmental factors like drought or deforestation. Other times it was internal conflicts, political instability that weakened those empires. And of course, for the Aztec Empire, the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the early 16th century brought a brutal end. That was a real turning point in the history of the Americas.
It really drives home the point that even the most powerful civilizations are vulnerable to both internal and external forces. And it makes me think about a question that's been in the back of my mind throughout this whole deep dive. We've seen just how diverse Native American cultures were before European contact. But how did that diversity fare in the face of colonization?
That's a big question, and it's a question that leads us into the next and final chapter of our exploration.
This is your need to know.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Native American history. We've covered so much ground, from those very first footprints on the continent to the rise and fall of these incredible civilizations.
It's been quite the journey. But as we shift focus to the period after European contact, it's crucial to remember that Native American history doesn't just end there.
Right, it's not just ancient history, it's a living story.
Yeah.
And that's really been driven home throughout this deep dive. We're talking about living cultures, stories that continue to be told, traditions that are still being passed down.
Exactly. And now, as we get into this era of European contact and colonization, it's important to really acknowledge the impact it had and continues to have on Native American communities.
Throughout our deep dive, we've talked about the incredible diversity of Native American cultures before European contact. But I'm curious, how did that diversity fare in the face of colonization?
Well, colonization led to a lot of displacement, the forced assimilation of many indigenous peoples. Countless languages were lost, traditions suppressed, whole communities torn apart. It's a pretty tragic chapter in human history.
The sources mention efforts to convert Native Americans to Christianity, often through these boarding schools that separated children from their families and cultures.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine, being taken from your home, forbidden from speaking your language, forced to abandon traditions that had shaped your people for generations.
Those policies were incredibly damaging, severing cultural ties, causing this intergenerational trauma that still impacts communities today. The legacy of colonization, it's not just something in the past, it's woven into the fabric of the present.
It's a lot to process. And yet, amidst all that hardship, the sources also point to stories of resilience. Native American cultures, they didn't just disappear. They adapted, they resisted, they found ways to persist.
And a big part of that resilience is the power of storytelling. Through their oral traditions, Native American communities have preserved their history, their values, their unique understanding of the world. These stories, they act like a bridge between generations, passing on knowledge and cultural identity, even when faced with immense pressure to assimilate.
One example that really stuck with me was the story of the Cherokee syllabary. This writing system developed by a man named Sequoyah in the early 19th century. He did this, despite all the opposition and skepticism from both inside and outside the Cherokee Nation.
Sequoyah was a visionary, for sure. He saw the power of literacy and was determined to create a system that would allow his people to read and write in their own language. And it worked. Thousands of Cherokee people became literate because of his syllabary.
It's an incredible testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of Native American peoples. Even when faced with these incredible odds, they found ways to not only survive, but thrive.
That spirit of adaptation, of resilience, it's evident in so many other examples throughout history and even today. Think about the Navajo code talkers, who used their native language during World War II to create these unbreakable codes. Or contemporary artists and activists, language revitalization experts, all working hard to keep those traditions alive.
It's inspiring to see how these cultures have persisted, how they've held on to their identity, sharing their stories with the world.
It really speaks to the power of culture, to the human spirit. It challenges us to look beyond those dominant narratives, to recognize the richness and complexity of Native American history, of the Native American experience.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot in this deep dive. Ancient footprints, lost ecosystems, the rise and fall of civilizations, the impacts of colonization, and the remarkable resilience of Native American cultures.
It's been great to explore these sources with you, to dive into this rich and often overlooked history. I hope it's made you curious to learn more, to seek out those diverse voices and perspectives, to appreciate the enduring legacy of Native American cultures.
It definitely has for me. And for anyone listening, if you want to keep exploring, take a look at the sources we've talked about, visit museums and cultural centers, listen to the stories of Native American elders. There's a whole world of knowledge out there just waiting to be discovered.
And remember, history, it's not just about the past. It's about understanding the present and shaping a better future, a more just and equitable one. So let's honor these stories, the cultures we've encountered, and keep amplifying those voices that have been silenced for far too long.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. And until next time, keep diving deep.
This is your need to know.
In the mirror, I see the same old face. Lines of laughter, lines of grace. Every morning, the sun will rise, but the days, they blur before my eyes. Round and round the clock can spin, caught in the rhythm with your begin. Moments fleeting like grains of sand, slipping through my open hand. Time is slipping, slipping away. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh. Hold on tight, don't let it stray. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh. Dancing shadows on the wall, echoes of footsteps in the hall. Every heartbeat, a ticking sound. In this dance, we're all bound. Round and round the clock can spin, caught in the rhythm with your begin. Moments fleeting like grains of sand, slipping through my open hand. Time is slipping, slipping away. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh. Hold on tight, don't let it stray. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh. In the cycle, we find our place. Every turn, a new embrace. Life's a dance, a sweet ballet. In the end, we all must sway. Time is slipping, slipping away. Time is slipping, slipping away. open hand. Time is slipping, slipping away. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh. Hold on tight, don't let it stray. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh. Round and round, round and round, round and round. The clock can't spin. Ooh, caught in the rhythm, caught in the rhythm, caught in the rhythm. Ooh, I'm almost feeling the grains of sand slipping through my open hand. I'm slipping, 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 slipping. Hey, time is slipping, slipping away. Hold on tight, don't let it stray. Time is slipping, slipping away. Life's a dance, a sweet ballet. In the end, we all must sway. It's how it must be, tripping on through the galaxy. Time is slipping, slipping away. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, ooh, hold on tight, hold on tight. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, round and round the clock can't spin. Caught in the rhythm, where to begin? Moments fleeting like grains of sand slipping through my open hand. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, hold on tight, don't let it stray. Ooh, time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh.
Round and round, around and round, around and round. The clock can't spin.
Ooh,
Caught in the rhythm, caught in the rhythm, caught in the rhythm. Moments feeling like grains of sand slipping through my open hand. Time is slipping, 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 slipping. Hey, time is slipping, slipping away. Hold on tight, don't let it stray. Time is slipping, slipping away. Life's a dance, a sweet ballet. In the end, we all must sway. It is how it must be, tripping on through the galaxy. Time is slipping, slipping away. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, hold on tight, hold on tight. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, round and round the clock can't spin. Caught in the rhythm, where to begin? Moments fleeting like grains of sand slipping through my open hand. Time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, hold on tight, don't let it stray. Ooh, time is slipping, slipping away. Ooh, round and round, round and round, round and round. The clock can't spin. Ooh.